what it's like to be a bat. So that actually is not my questions, is a question of Thomas Nature, and it's from a paper from 1974. It's only 1 year later than the year I was born, so that was the year of the birth of the new field of philosophy, the philosophy of mind, the philosophy of cognition, and I dare to say the philosophy of the consciousness. And sorry, I just want to follow the presentation because there are some things not in this moment, but the technical problems. So, as I told you, that was the point in the philosophy of mind, the starting point of the philosophy of mind. And why is important the philosophy of mind for philosophical practice? Because it's about the consciousness. And one traditional problem in philosophy in general is what is the consciousness. And now a few words about me. I'm Antonio Sandu, professor PhD in Ștefan cel Mare University from Suceava, Romania. I'm in the Research Center for Applied Ethics. I am also working in the field of philosophical practice for more than 10 years, and I'm very happy to find here some colleagues that we meet in another international conference on philosophical practice, such as in the conference in Greece or in Serbia. And my topic of expertise in philosophical practice was the problem of appreciative inquiry using in philosophical practice. Appreciative inquiry is how to appreciate what gives the values to the system, to the social system or to the human system, and so on, and use this in philosophical counseling. But today we will not speak about this. Another topic that I'm interested in is transpersonal philosophical and spiritual practice, and how this can be used in counseling and philosophical practice, of course. And why it's important next. Why the philosophy of mind is important for philosophical practice, I try to say to you some information, because, for instance, Descartes says there are two substances, res extensa and res cogitans. Thomas Nagel contradicts in a way Mr. Descartes, because he says the consciousness, res cogitans, can never be a substance. Why? Why can never be a substance? Because we are aware of something, but this awareness is not a byproduct of the material world, even if it's happening in the brain, even it's happening in the brain, but we cannot say how the qualia appear in the mind, how the qualities, the qualia appear there, and how we take the consciousness of what we see, what we hear, what we understand, and why, and how this emerge the mind activity, from the brain activity, how the consciousness emerges of this. So first of all, we are aware of external objects. There we have a picture of a galaxy, and we are aware of the external objects by seeing, by hearing, by tasting, by touching, and so on. All of this are our perceptions. So of course, we use extended perception when we use a telescope, like to see the galaxy. But it's still an awareness of coming from the senses, and this awareness coming from the senses is I see you, but am I aware of that I see you? What means to be aware that I see you? Am I just looking into you as my cat does, or I'm more than this, or I'm more than just looking and see as what artificial intelligence is supposed to do. Because one question is, can artificial intelligence become conscient in some times? There are already, but it's another topic of discussion. Another awareness could be awareness of our internal object, and that's more philosophical and more profound. Because what is to be aware of internal object? We can be aware of the thinking process. I'm thinking about my cat. So I just thinking of my cat, I'm just wondering, oh, I have a beautiful cat and so on. But I'm not necessarily aware that I'm aware of my cat. It's not in my awareness to be aware of it. Just see the cat and just thinking about the cat, and that's all in my mind field. But if I in counseling, philosophical counseling, for instance, I could ask the person, why you are thinking about the cat? What is the cat for you? What represents the cat? How you interact with the cat? What's the definition of a cat? Why it's important? How you relate with that cat? So it's about it's not about the cat. It's about awareness of my thinking process. How I think about the cat, and how is my thinking about that cat. And the next phases are just awareness of awareness. Because sometimes I'm aware that I'm aware. I'm not aware about a particular thing, about a particular thought, about just aware of the process of awareness. How awareness comes in my consciousness, as Thomas Nature says, what is it? What is like to be a bat? And why he answered these questions? Because we can have empathy with how it's like to be engineer. I'm not engineer, but I can understand how it's like to be anything, how it's like to be a cat, for instance. But it's not so easy to be a bat, because bat has another senses organs. Here in ultrasound, and we don't have this capacity. So what it's like to be a bat, what it's like to have capacity, extra capacity, and what it's like to be a bat in philosophical practice. What is like to be something that you're not and can never be, because we sometimes have to understand what is the process of being something else, because in mind because everything in reality is in the mind for us. It's not that we don't see the world outside us. We see, we perceive, but we replicate in our mind everything. Well, I perceive my beautiful wife here filming me, but it's my perception, and it's different from your perception, and this is only me. It's only my consciousness. how this perception appear in my consciousness, and this can be subject for philosophical practice because it's subjective. It's my awareness about external world, about thinking process, and of course about awareness of awareness. Why awareness of awareness? Because many times we say, oh, I'm aware of that. But are you aware that you are aware? Do you think, why are you aware? How are you aware? What is awareness for you? What does it mean to be aware of something? What does it mean to be aware of yourself? What does it mean to be aware in general? And next, about self-awareness. Because we say, I'm aware about myself. And, well, what is myself? Well, who am I? So, this who am I is a question that comes from Upanishad, from Indian philosophy, but it's a trend in this time to ask questions. Who am I? And it's a philosophical question, and it's very important for philosophical practice. Who am I? Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I here? Not in front of you, or even in front of you. Why am I here? But of course, who am I? I'm my external reality. Because I'm a professor, and I was present myself that I'm a professor PhD, so I had a PhD, I had the title of professor, I teach in a university. But is it me? Am I aware about how is to be the owner of something, of a company? I'm a owner of the company, of my company. But is my company me? Or does it hurt when my company goes in bankruptcy? Am I feel hurt about something that is not my body, that is not my mind? Does the external things can hurt me? Can I feel this mic as be myself? No. Can I feel my phone as be myself? Well, that's another problem. I have to be aware of who am I. So why this phone is more important, it's more myself, because I have information, because I have a long time relation with my phone. I have more things in that phone that I'm related to. So my consciousness says, yes, I am this object, I'm this external world, but not entirely. But I'm more about something about my red car, and say, if someone comes to my red car and smash it, so I feel a pain. So is my red car me? Am I the red car? No. But yes, still yes. So what to be aware of self-awareness about the things that I think I own, or I own in worldly relations. But I'm not my red car, but still hurts me. So it's a good question for philosophical practice. What is to be you? What is to be you in relation with that car? So again, what is to be you in relation with your body? If my arms or my legs are amputated, am I still me? Yes, but it's incomplete. It's an incomplete me. If my liver hurt me, am I still me? Yes, but it hurts. Of course, it more hurts, but I have a perception, I have a subjective awareness about my body when it hurts, of course. And again, in philosophical practice, am I the body? What's the relation between me and my body? Who am I in relation with my body? Am I this? Or if my kidney failed, am I failed because my kidney is failing and maybe I die and, if I die, my body dies, maybe I also disappear, or maybe if I'm a believer in God and or in a divine force, maybe I'm still surviving, or maybe I'm still me. But is my beliefs about myself important? How I perceive myself in relation with this body, with this part, and why am I feeling the separation between my body, me, and the world? Because sometimes I feel I'm the world, and because this awareness of the body, awareness of myself, and then the next its relation with my thoughts. I am in relation with my body, but not with my whole cells in the body. So if I have a diabetes, I let many years to pass until I discovered that I have diabetes. So nothing burdened me in this period because I have no pain. And diabetes disease have no pain. So if not hurts, I'm not a diabetic person. Well, when this have complications, well, then I suddenly feel that and say, well, but awareness of my thoughts, because my thoughts? I'm thinking about philosophy. I'm a philosopher first, so my beauty, my things are the thoughts are philosophy. So am I my thoughts? If I have no thoughts, did I still be me? Well, why am I in relation to my thoughts? I'm my thoughts. If I have shameful thoughts, is still me. I'm to be ashamed. So, and if I have no thoughts, in deep sleep, for instance, it's still me. But when I wake up, I'm still me. I'm recognized. But what is to be still me? Am I the same person I was in Congress philosophical practice in Greece or in Serbia? Is the same person or not? This is how we address the philosophical questions about feeling yourself. And of course, what is for me to be me? What is self-awareness? Well, to be self-aware, what is this to be self-aware? And some people say living the present moment. Well, I cannot live in the future because future never come. I always live in today. The future, well, is something to be, but I can just project myself in the future and have thoughts about my future. But when I will be in that moment in time, and today I see in the future, I will be seen in the now or in the past. Well, I cannot be in the past because the past has gone, and I am in memory of the past. Is not where I live. So I'm in the present, but it's awareness. It's awareness of who am I. So these ideas, of course, are coming from Advaita Vedanta, from Indian philosophy, and Trika, one of the Kashmiri Shaivism philosophy, also from India. Advaita Vedanta says. Shankaracharya is one of these great masters of Advaita Vedanta, and say, well, I'm consciousness and bliss without form. And this is the famous Tattvamasi, you are that. Well, this are Vedanta's answer to these questions, you are that. And through that we think we are God. No, we are that. That we don't. Nobody knows what is that, because it's something cannot can never be object of consciousness, because it's a pure subjectivity. Well, I can feel the world. I can feel the object, as Thomas Nagel says in his paper about the bath. Well, I can never be aware of my subjectivity to the end, because if I'm aware by subjectivity, my subjectivity becomes an object. So I can philosophize about myself, about my subjectivity, but it's still an object. I can feel my subjectivity, I can have intuition about, but in the end, Buddhist says it's a void, it's a nothingness, it's a shunyata. And why? Because we cannot say nothing about it, we can philosophize things, but after all, I am that. And what is that? What is that is nobody knows, but we can still ask ourselves, to ourselves the questions, these questions. And Trika from Kashmir, it's complementary to Advaita Vedanta, it's the less known philosophy of India, and say not only that, like in Vedanta, the world is Maya, is illusion. The world is illusion for Advaita Vedanta, for Shankaracharya. And we are that, but nothing else exists, because everything is projection is a projection in the mind. It's a projection on the screen of your own consciousness, because as I previously stated, we internalized the reality in our consciousness. We have awareness about external and internal world and so on, but it's our subjectivity that says, I'm looking at, I'm hearing that, and so on. And Advaita Vedanta says everything is therefore an illusion. But Kashmiri Shaivism, Trika especially, says no, the reality is there. Illusion is that I says myself that I'm not there. The mind, the illusion is the separation between me and the world. So it's again a subject to philosophize. Am I really separate from the world, from the rest of the world? What is for me to be separate? What is for me to be an entity? And how I perceive myself as entity, as a separate entity to the rest of the world. And of course, I will continue with some state of the consciousness. We can pass through some state of the consciousness. The first one is wakefulness. In wakefulness, I have the consciousness about the material world, about objective world. So I see you, I see the screen. Is this an illusion? What Vedanta implied to us? Well, I'm related to this world as an illusion. I'm related to this world as pure objectivity, and I'm related to this world as different from myself. I'm related to this world as in shamanic dreams and shamanic practice, as our colleagues Daniela said yesterday, that we can relate to the external world as in shamanism. So the shamans are more close related to the world. It's our personal experience, our personal field of experience about awareness. What is to be awake? What is to be conscious about the external world? Is only my senses that are there, that are present in this process of consciousness to the reality, to the real world, or not? And the next stage is the dream stage. Well, the dream stage is not only when we sleep and dream. It's first when we dream, and that's how psychology takes the consciousness about dream states in Jung's or in Freud's philosophy, well, dream interpretation and so on, and go to the archetypes and Jung's and interpretation, another interpretation of dreams, but our thinking process something else than the dream. Is that a dream? Well, if I have mental construct, the mental construct is not objective perception. That are something that is formed in my mind, and I interpret the world through what this mental construct is. Well, this is a bench. This is a table. Yes, but also it's my chair, because I'm sitting here. So my mind says, well, this is a table, or this is my chair, or something. And what I have to be a form of relief, to be a mountain. It's enough to be 500 meters, 10,000 meters, or so. What is to be a mountain? Is this an objective reality, or is our construct? Even to be a mountain. That's an interesting movie. It was the Englishman who climbed a hill and came down from a mountain. It's a very beautiful movie. And after the First World War, the English Geographical Society decides to measure all forms of relief in that country, and to have categorized and have an exact map, because maybe could be used in the next war. So in the village, that all of them they say they are the mountain men, they are men from the mountains, and they construct their own life by being a mountain man. What is to be a mountain man? Why you construct your life as a mountain man? Why do you say, I'm not a man from the plain, I'm not a man from the hill? Is this a difference? Is it a different you? Well, that's for them, yes, it's a different thing, it's different to them. And this Englishman come and say, no, it's 4 meters less than the limit for being mountain. So you're not a mountain man, you're a man from the hill. So they all broke down, because their subjective identity was destroyed by saying they are not a mountain man. And they constructed their identity starting from this idea that they are a mountain man. So in philosophical practice, we can ask why you construct idea around something, around the mountain, in the case of this mountain, or around to be a millionaire, or around to be a poor man. What it means to be a poor man, what it means to be immigrant, what it means to be expat, what it means to be, what is constructed identity, and how is the process of constructing, and why constructed identity, what it means for you. Not only what it means for you, but how you go to there. But this how you go to there is a psychological questions. Why you go, what does mean for you, for your consciousness, to be a mountain man? That's philosophical questions, in my opinion. And this is also a dream state, because we dream that I'm a mountain man, and when an Englishman comes, they say, well, no, you're not a mountain man, you're a man from a hill. So it's a dream, but open-eyed dreams. So we dream all of us. But if we dream about Plato's cave, it's not a dream. You imagine Plato's cave, we imagine to be what is like to be in the Plato, or it's like to be again that. It's not a dream. Well, it's a dream, but we think we perceive the external world. Well, not so much. We perceive our thoughts, our internal world, superimposed to the external world, superimposed to the world that we perceive through the senses. And the next stage is a dreamless state, a state without thoughts, because that's dreamless. It's a state where no thoughts emerge. Can we touch this deep level of awareness about mental construct again in Indian philosophy, in yoga this time, in Patanjali's yoga? They say this is nirvikalpa. This is the state, the higher state in yoga practice, and it's no vikalpa, no mind modification, no forms in the mind, no thoughts, no perception of external world, no thoughts, just perception. Is that perception what we can philosophize, but it's difficult because there are few people that remember, even remember that they are in this state. But there are some times when they say, well, I feel myself like, well, this is something that it happens to me one time. or maybe 2. When I come back from the sleep and say, well, I'm in no space, no time, I'm in a state, but I don't know where am I, why am I, what's here. And I, as a computer, I wait for my operating system to start. And is the reality our operating system? With this is what the reality is for us, our Windows, our operating system. We can have interrelation with the objective world through our senses, through our thoughts, and so on. Is this? But when we come from the dreamless states, yes, there is no operational system for us. How is that experience? What is important? Why is the importance of this for you? Next, in Kashmir Shaivism in Trika, they say is the fourth state. The fourth state is Turiya. It's there represented by white. It's nothing. It's not also like in the dreamless state, but no conceptualization, no nothing. But it's a state of self-aware. It's a state of awareness about nothing, about everything, and so on. And they call this the fourth state. So also we mentioned there are intermediate states. There are wakefulness and wakefulness. So we are awake and we think we know that we are awake and we know that we perceive the world. I know that I perceive you, and I'm aware about the fact that I perceive you because I focus my awareness on you and say, now I perceive you. But if I'm focusing on my mic, on my speech, I'm not there. I'm not in wakefulness and wakefulness because I'm dreaming wakefulness. I dream about my presentation. I dream about my speech. I dream about how great is my philosophy and so on, but it's still a dream. And all the states are present in wakefulness, all the states in dreams and so on. Next, please. Next slide, please. And of course, we have self-awareness in wakefulness and so on. We know already. Well, what is like to be awakefulness in the dream state is what Mr. Freud tried to analyze by analyzing the dream, or Mr. Jung tried to analyze by analyzing the archetype, or what we do in mindfulness or meditation or state of trance. So next, please. About state of trance. Here is Mowgli and the serpents and trust in me, just in me. It's how reality told to us, trust in me, just in me. But where are you in this picture? No, you are deep hypnotized, because trance is nothing else but a breakthrough of realities. How we go deeper in our mind, in our consciousness, and so on. So next, how we can induce trance. Trance is first induced by the senses. It's visual trance, auditory trance, kinesthetic trance, and consensus trance. These first three are coming from neurolinguistical programming, sensory channels, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And I'm a visual trance when, for instance, I do yoga practice, yoga meditation, and I do focusing on a candle flame. Nothing else, no other thoughts come, or I ignore all other thoughts or other subjective presence. Well, when we hear beautiful music, sometimes no perception, no other perception than the music. And sometimes when we are deep connected on our bodily perception, nothing else but our perception, our state of mind is completely oriented to our perception. And I add this consensus trance. It's another state of trance when when we know the reality because someone or everyone tells us, why you think you are a woman, why you think you are a man, why you think you are a human man, not a person? Because since I was born, everybody told me I'm a man, everybody told me that I'm a human and not a bat, that I have this limitation on that. And of course, when a politician says to me, well, live better, well, I believe him because everyone does. That's the trance of consensus. Everybody believes that. So I believe about myself because no, I cannot detach from anyone else. So of course, again, what is reality? Reality is a metaphor, says Bernardo Kastrup, and he also says we are not well equipped for knowing reality, but for survival. Well, for knowing reality, we should be equipped to perceive quantum mechanics, to perceive quantum particles. We partially perceive the light, as let's say the light, but we perceive as qualia. We do not perceive the light and frequency, but we perceive what our mind describes about this object. It's a red. There is no red in reality. We have a qualia of red. We have a perception, a subjective recodification of this spectrum of lights, and saying that is red. So, all senses. But we are constructing in this way to survive, because if we perceive quantum reality and we are in the cave and in the first stage of humanity and society, even we accept evolution as in Darwinian theory or a creationist theory, the humanity still have to confront the wolf and have to confront the lion and so on. And if a caveman philosophizes about the quantum state of the lion, so as in contemporary physics we said the cat of Heisenberg maybe, well, it is the quantum state of the cat is alive or not, or something like this. If the caveman philosophizes like this about the lion eating, but he has no time to philosophize, because he should run. So first we are equipped for this, but in humanity development, in some moment they have to reflect. What is myself in relation to that lion? So then we have a picture in the cave, so hunting the deer, hunting elephants and so on, and we reflect about the nature spirit, about the spirit of the species, the spirit of the elephants and so on, and we say something like this in anthropology. So the trance of thinking. When I'm in the trance of thinking, when I'm thinking about reality that is, as I already told you, a social construct, and I tell you a story about the Englishman who climbed up the hill and came down from the mountains. It's a social construct. We believe something because we have agreement of understanding. We all agree that there is this, it's right in Romania, the power, putem. And we all agree that is what the man tried to find. But maybe men not try to find the power. Maybe the man tried to find himself. Maybe the man tried to find a woman and so on. But we put them in an envelope and say that's what the man will try to. And the second, the last, not the second, third, and the last stage of trance is no thinking, no vikalpa. It's again from yoga tradition. No vikalpa, no mind construct, no mind modification, no thoughts. How this appear? How the state of trance appear? Well, it appear in Satori, for instance, in Zen. There you see Zen master Taisen Deshimano one Zen master that came from Japan in France and teach Zen to European. And of course, pause between thoughts. I think our thought process is continuous, but if we really analyze in deep state of trance what is thought, we have this thought is like any other things, internal things, but still an object. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that could be a meditative process. And for those who understand Romanian, I have a meditation on these topics of induced trance and the pause between the thoughts, and there you can experience this in the state of trance on my YouTube channels, Sandu online. You can find this meditation. So for those who understand Romanian and who want, they could go there and see. So next is reflective awareness. How we are aware that about we reflect. How can we use this in practice? By Socratic dialogue, for instance. We can do Socratic dialogue, and we can try to understand what appears in your consciousness, and contradict that are perception, contradict that are thoughts and so on, and contradict, and asking questions about what your complex state of mind, what's behind the scene, what's behind your thoughts, and something like this. I call this reflective awareness in philosophical practice. Next, guided meditation, and as I told you before, one with pause between thoughts, silence between thoughts is again an Indian concept, and another guided meditation is inner child. Again, for Romanian speakers, you can find this meditation in my YouTube channel. Next. Well, you can go with the client in the state of trance by guided meditation, and for instance, we can speak about archetypes and how this appear in our thoughts, in wakefulness. What is to be a king? What is to be a king of your own life? What is to be? Have I the power? What the power mean? Have I the power to be in control of my life? Am I in control of my life? What is the control? What is my experience about control? What is how is I defined the control? So I perceive this in the states of trance. But how is in reality these archetypes come? Because many archetypes are the king and the hero or the warrior and so on. Another is the feminine archetypes. Again, we make appeal to Jung and the beautiful one, the mother one, and so on. What is like to be a mother? What is important for you to be a mother? What is motherhood? Yesterday, someone told us the experience of motherhood that I can never have because I never was and never can be a mother. But I can be a father. So, what is like to be a mother for me? I never can. It's like similar to be a dad. Can never be there. So, what is like to be a mother? So, what is like to be a beautiful woman? What is like to be? What is like for you, not for me, not for anyone else. It's like for you. Why? How you define it for yourself? And thank you for your presence and participation. Namaste in Hindi. And I'm with the sword of mind, of consciousness, and so on. I'm a Darth Vader, so please show your questions now. Both, because how it's like for me to be Darth Vader, of course. Yes?
Well, more a comment than a question, but maybe it becomes a question also. So, first of all, thank you, Antonio, because I found your presentation complex, rich, stimulating, inspiring. Really, I can take a lot of things that make me think and reflect and use my practice. Then, well, just a couple of considerations. The first one is that all your starting point from when you talk about reflection, and then you pass from perception, and then knowledge, and then self-awareness. It reminds me a bit of the work. I don't know if you had listened to the presentation of Weiss yesterday. Maybe you quoted when you said that the experience of being a mother. So it's the same kind of graduality. You pass from perception, and then you have the knowledge. You can explain. You have not lived and experienced, and then you can become aware, phronesis, and then you can put in practice what you've lived, and then it becomes praxis. And this is useful for us, for our work as practitioners. So this is a first. So I see a sort of fil rouge in this reflection upon research that we're also making in practice. And then the theme, the big topic of metamorphosis that you touch, because you start with a question of nature, what is like to be a bat. And this reminds me also, well, the big theme of we exist through the eyes of others, so we are recognized by others, so you and me, and the social theme. And this is the first reflection. Things about Alcibiades, one that yesterday Patricia presented. So Socrates and Alcibiades, and making him reflect about his own existence through the existence of another human being, and our being conditioned by the social side of us. Like, think about metamorphosis in Ovidio or Kafka, when the poor man thinks to be a cockroach because of the social pressure. So this is a theme that we can use in our practice, like be self-aware of yourself, admire that you can be conditioned by the others. So this thing of becoming the king of yourself, as you said, it's very important in a process of self-liberating. So both the things. We are what the other. We are social animals, but we can be conditioned by others. So the process through free will, it's long. Thank you. This is just a comment.
I thank you, and I just want to emphasize the fact that in my presentation I want to focus attention on what is philosophical in this practice, and what's the difference between the psychological approach of transpersonal psychology, of trance, and what is the philosophical approach of this problem. It could be different. We could do this in psychological, and I use this in practice in psychological. I'm also a psychologist, and sometimes I do it in a psychological way. But sometimes it needs to philosophize. It needs to ask philosophical questions, not only the psychological questions. Well, you can not really separate what psychological and what philosophical, and I think it's not so much important to distinguish between the two approaches, but to be aware what is what, and when you use one, you use another, and so on.
Thank you.
If you are not happy with you, can you be happy in relation with others?
Well, if I'm not happy with myself, first of all, I ever ask the question, what is happiness? So it's a Socratic question, but what is happiness? What you define to be happy? What you define to be happy in relation with yourself or in relation with others?
Perceive yourself.
Perceive yourself, but if you perceive yourself as being an object, as I told you, as being a red car, you cannot be satisfied with yourself when someone scratch your car, so someone scratch you, or when someone beats you.
The curiosity kills the cat.
Yes, many times kills the counseling process, because the counseling process is 1 second distance of a big fiasco every time. Because you have to put your right questions, you have to understand, you have to have empathy, and so yourself and the clients, of course. And most important is not you to understand the client to understand himself. Maybe you understand the client, but what's important for the client, what's the importance.
You are Socrates and you help them to discover themselves.
Yes, and that's the importance of the awareness of themselves, not you to be awareness.
Yes,
It's not an
but
external.
you must also be,
Yes.
you must also know who you are in
Yes,
your life.
yes,
So to help
or at
them
least
discover.
try to meditate on this, try to understand better you, because you never can be Buddha, or you can be, because Buddha was a man after all, but you're not Buddha now. Otherwise you're in Zen monastery or in Tibetan monastery, but you're not in Tibetan monastery, you're not in Zen monastery, you're here and now. So here and now you're not, you suppose you're not a Buddha, maybe you are, of course.
Yeah, here.
Yes?
Rick Rapetti. 3 things. I'll try to be really quick. Everybody says that, but then. So the first thing is I really loved your presentation. I took a lot of notes. We do a lot of work in the same area, so I'll talk to you later about that. So thank you very much. Second thing, I just wanted to share this insight that a lot of us come here looking for these techniques for our clients. But I think this set of things and these understandings and insights and frameworks and practices are as much, if not more important for us as counselors, because they open up our framework and our perspective and our understanding and make us able to do a lot more with our clients just because of the skills that these practices bring to us. And then the third thing is the philosophical thing, which I don't expect you to be able to answer well, but I'm still curious. Dalai Lama once was asked after a long speech about Buddhism by a Vedantist, what do you think is the difference between the non-duality of Vedanta and emptiness in Buddhism? You mentioned both. So, and the Dalai Lama went back and forth with his translator for like 5 minutes and then came back to the mic and said, I don't know. So, do you know?
Well, what is to know, what is to be aware. So first thanks to your wonderful words about this presentation, and second, I never thought the philosophical practice has techniques. So why we expect to have to be here and someone teach us the techniques? Well, the techniques is Socratic dialogue. Maybe I present meditation, maybe trance and so on, but it's just the techniques. No, it's not important. You are the techniques in philosophical practice. Your consciousness are the techniques, nothing else. Because it's how you perceive the client, how you perceive yourself, how you interact with the clients. You are the techniques, nothing else. So, and the difficult questions of Dalai Lama, the emptiness, as I perceive the void, the emptiness, is nothing else but nothing else but Vedanta, what Vedanta says. Because I wrote a book from Nirvana to quantum void. Well, in quantum void, they say the pairs of particles and antiparticles are simultaneously appear from void, from nothingness. But can the mind understand this process? No. So we can understand the mind. The mind is nothing. The mind is nothingness for the Buddhist, but it's still everything, because it's there where the mind comes. It's there where everything comes in reality, in the quantum void, quantum nirvana, something like this. So even if I'm not Dalai Lama, I still have this answer, but it's not the Buddha's answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.